What's going on, my brothers and I? Today I'm bringing you a live Q&A. I'm going to be answering all your fitness questions for the next 1 to 2 hours. And of course, I'll be time-stamping everything personally. So you don't have to do it. I got your back. So if you feel like showing up a few hours after, you're good. Yo, what's up, Gym Memes Daily? Nito Linilo. Reppin' Time Fitness, that's my boy. Paid, the new vibes, Ari Pages, Joseph Byron, Kerr Gunner, Ice Pack, Nas Fitness, Yannick, Jake Monkey, Rashad John, Pedro Santos, Big Smoke, DGs, Alexander Atanasov, Liav Chen, Nas Fitness, my man Shabadeep Singh, what's good? Danny, Tashar, man, we're getting a bunch of people stepping in. God bless you too, Edward. Hi, bro, being strong. Hello, bro. What's up? Yo, everything's good. I'm happy to be talking with you on this Friday afternoon. And you can ask me whatever you want. I can already see the questions are kicking in. But I just introduced. So you know what? I got to go around 4:30. So we're going to get straight into it, boys. Love your work, man, AD. Well, appreciate you. Okay, let's start answering some questions. Beginning with the first guy who entered the live stream, Gym Memes Daily. How hard was the shredding? So you're talking about my transformation. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life in regards to fitness. But not as difficult as the 405 bench because that was a long-term grind, whereas getting shredded was 6 months. And there was actually a month and a half in that time frame where I kind of took it a little bit easy. If you notice, I maintained the low 160s for a little bit. So in truth, I probably could have done it in 5 months, realistically. But just to say, it absolutely destroyed me. I talked about all the side effects in my shredded video, and I had the lowest energy in my entire life. But you know what? I was looking at some of my pictures before, and I looked pretty freaking good. Maintained a lot of muscle, so I guess that taking my time was worth it in this respect. And I got to show you what a real natural looks like from years of bulking, then you get down to single digits. So I don't regret it, but certainly the way I was feeling in that state was so terrible that no way was I going to maintain that. So it's not that I couldn't do it. It's obviously all about discipline and counting the calories and making sure that you keep yourself accountable. It was more so I feel like garbage. With the exception of some calisthenics movements like weighted pull-ups, one-arm pull-ups. I ended up doing 6 in that state. So there are benefits for pound strength. But being single digit, like actual, now that I look back at the pictures, I was probably 8% realistically. I said 9 at the time, but I was like 8. Looking back, man, like I'm shocked that I even got to that weight. And I'm happy that I'm able to tell the tale. And didn't die in the process either, because I did pass out one time, smash my freaking head. So overall, the dieting part was fine. It was just, I didn't feel good. But, you know, gradually dropping the calories, following a standard diet, when you know what you're doing and you just trust the process, you're just going to get leaner week to week. And that's what you saw. So it wasn't difficult on that scale. The only hard part, I would say, was the appetite. But once you up your protein intake and you start making, say, anabolic foods, you get that in check. And your appetite will naturally lower as well when you've been dieting for months at a time. So, and keeping yourself busy. That's really important. So I hope that helps you out, man. Okay. Joseph Byron. Do you ever max out on accessory/isolated exercises? Nah, man. I've done that on the strict curl. One time years ago when I did 130 pounds. This was a straight bar against the wall. But besides that, like, what's the point of doing a 1 rep max tricep extension? This is foolish. Or a 1 rep max side lateral, especially with the resistance profiles, right? Because a lot of these isolation movements train the shortened position. Meaning it's end phase loaded and you get the maximum squeeze. So when you're doing a chest fly with cables, it's here where you're really working the chest. Whereas when you do things like dumbbell bench, it's really working that lengthened position, so the way to stretch, right? So if a lot of the isolations we do complement our compounds, so the compounds are more lengthened bias, whereas the isolations are more shortened bias, then why would I do singles? Or even triples? You're not going to see me do 3 sets of 3 cable curls. It doesn't make any sense. Unless you're like trying to maximize your performance on that for some weird reason. You want to be the first guy that could like stack multiple plates. You know what I'm saying? Like you buy that little stick and you could put Olympic plates on there. Hey, you do you, but yeah, I see this guy just said it makes me laugh seeing bros doing super heavy swinging lateral raises. Yeah, that's there's a way to get results with that through lowering the eccentric, but when you get past a certain number, it's pretty much all momentum, and it's not possible. In the past, you see me do power side raises, which I ended up getting laughed at for years later. But I was doing like 60, 80 pounds. And actually, you know who taught me that exercise? Real talk. It was Athlete X. And yeah, I didn't get the results that I thought I was going to get. I found that just dropping the weight by literally 50% and doing the exercise properly in the scapular plane is better. So leave your ego out the door, straight up. Of course, you can cheat a bit, but if you're doing side laterals, perfect form, 30 pounds, maybe you can creep it to 35 with a little bit of body English, but that's about it. You're not going to do 50 or 60 pounds, okay? That's the freaking difference. Same thing with cheat curls. If I'm doing 117 for my rep work, maybe I can creep it up to 135 and get a bit of swing. But if I do 185 and I'm doing underhand power cleans, or I'm literally using my legs, I'm bending, I'm going boom, what are you doing? It's Z's, bruh. All right, we have a question here. Andrew Clark, thank you for the super chat. I got in an accident a while back. I've been consistent training areas other than those injured. I've been watching your videos to keep me motivated. Awesome, man. Well, I'm glad that you're not using this accident as an excuse to not train. You're still going after it and you're working that which is not injured. See, many times you'll see a guy who, say, hurts his legs, and he'll stop training his upper body for some weird reason. The argument will be, well, I can't use leg drive on my bench press. And there's lots of gym bros that don't do this, and many powerlifters use a feet up variation as an important movement. Like you're seeing that right now. Most of my training is pretty much 80% Larson pressing, and my freaking pecs are getting really strong from that. I just want to point that out. I actually took my shirt off the other day. I was like, holy shit. I could see like the lower pec is looking a bit more prominent. So I definitely gained a bit of muscle, in my opinion. You can also argue it's the body fat and the muscle memory. But it's good that you're still training around your injuries because, yeah, like I said, a lot of people aren't going to do that. And I'm happy that my videos keep you motivated with the training videos because me too, I've been lazy in certain respects, but not due to injuries. So imagine that. You got healthy young guys that aren't even injured, and they're being lazy. And there's someone like you who actually had a problem, but you're still getting after it. That's the winner's mentality right there. And it's going to take you really far in the long run. So much love to you, Andrew. Got the homie Shabadeep. Opinions on 30 down reverse hypers. Love you, bro. I've never considered that. Maybe I'll try it out. That sounds kind of interesting, not gonna lie, because the whole thing with reverse hypers is to, well, first of all, you're gonna max out your machine pretty quickly if you're using a Westside Scout hyper, or you're in a commercial gym where it's it maxes out at like 150 or so. Unless you have like the Louis Simmons official or something that's a reputable brand, you won't be able to go that heavy. So you're pretty much stuck to higher reps. And in my case, I exclusively do 30 to 45 reps. Actually, sometimes even 50. So if that's our fate, we're using this as a prehab rejuvenation tool, then 30 down would equate to, well, I think it's 465 reps, right? It's a lot. Maybe I would do like a 20 down instead, so 210 reps, or even less than a 20 down. I mean, I know it would feel good on your back, but do you need that many reps, that much fluid being pumped? I don't think you would have to go that high with the down. Maybe I would try a lower down number, and this way you can go to failure a little bit easier. but 30 might be a little bit too high. All right. How long did it take you to get a 225 bench? Not long at all, man. After 8 months, I was already an intermediate lifter. Now, some may point out and say, well, Alex, that means you have excellent genetics. But no, I did calisthenics for about 3 to 4 years before that. And my starting point on the bench was a little bit over a plate. I think it was like 145 or something. I have the logs from years back. I wrote them down in a notebook. I don't know where it is now, but that's the duration that it took me. And when I got to a 275 bench, that's when my progress really, really started to slow down. So this was when I had to get smart with my programming. Myo sets or drop sets for arm growth. Personally, bro, I prefer myo reps. I find drop sets to be a little bit overrated, and it tends to lead to extra junk volume. Whereas myo reps, it's argued that you can hit the high threshold motor units because you're resting it out for a little bit. Let's say I do 5 reps on a curl, but it's not all out failure. It's freaking close, or it is failure. And then I rest 15 seconds and I do one more, but it's just like a super grinder. I like the concept of that. And I've been training this way exclusively for my arm work. And I find I'm getting pretty good results. I've done triple drop sets, all that stuff in the past. I find you just get a nice pump, but there's no real quality there, in my opinion. Not that I wouldn't recommend a drop set, but I like, check out Dr. Mike, Renaissance Periodization. Look at some of his workout videos, and you'll see the way he implements myo reps. And it tends to be pretty good. Are mini cuts a good idea? I think they are a good idea. The first time I learned about this concept, it might have been in 2011 by Big Brandon Carter. He's a real OG. He was saying you should do 3-week bulks followed by 3-week cuts. This way you can stay lean year round. Now, in my opinion, that's a bit too frequent. Instead, you should slowly lean bulk over many months, and once you're getting close to a certain weight that you don't want to go past, you do a small mini cut for like 3 weeks, and you're going to drop a lot of water weight and a good amount of fat quickly without really losing performance. So I've always said that short-term cuts, you can drop lots of fat without any negative consequences for the most part. That's why everybody who's trying to recomp all the time, you're actually making slower gains when you look at the net time. And so let's say you bulk up to 185 over 6 months. Well, over the course of 1 month, you can literally drop down to 175 pounds. I'm not over-exaggerating. This is the truth. You can do this. Now, if you go from 185 to 165 in a month, that's a different story. But I'm saying you can go really aggressive on your first month, and that's where mini cuts come into play. Go hard right off the bat, just to start, right? And then you go a little bit slower for the rest of the cut. Or you just stop right then and there because now you're lean enough. And that's pretty much what I plan on doing, by the way. Right now, my weight varies between 173 and 175. And actually, if you notice, it went in reverse as well. So I got shredded, 145, 150, and then my weight ballooned up in like a month and a half, right, to the 160s. But then from there till now, it's been pretty slow. Just to say we're already in March. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Oh, Ramadan soon. Perfect time to link it up with a mini cut. Absolutely, man. First of all, check out the video I made on Ramadan. I'm not Muslim, by the way, but I do try to help everybody out. Watch that. And I like timing fasting periods with certain things that you're going through in your life. To me, it just makes sense. If you're already going to be compromised somewhat in the gym, well then, why not go for a mini cut? It's a perfect opportunity. You're going to have some discipline anyway. And if you got extra weight to lose and we're getting close to summertime, hey, This is perfect. Permabulk gang. Yeah, I feel you, man. I was a permabulker for years. I did my first cut in, well, it was December, I'm just going to say 2018. Yeah. The start of 2018, the actual beginning. Before that, I was just slowly bulking over the years. My starting point was 120 pounds. And I ended up getting to, like, in a bloated, true state, 191. But I usually stayed between 186 and 188 back in the original bear mode days for all my OG subs. So it took a long time to get to that point. Then I did a cut down to 160, stayed there till about 169-ish. Then I bulked and cut like 3 times after that. So it's only in the last few years where I've actually gotten lean. Got the homie right here. Vishesh Diman, how long were you on minoxidil? 14 months. I used it for my beard, not my head. And for all the guys who are asking, why don't you use it right now on your scalp? Well, because it's freaking annoying. Unlike the beard where the gains are permanent, for the scalp, you got to apply it basically for the rest of your life, or else you're going to lose the gains. And I'm not up for that. Not to mention the fact that your hair looks like grease. It's horrible. Plus, I'm scared that if it drips down the forehead, that's going to cause more wrinkles, you know, because it affects collagen production, potentially, you know. Yeah, I'm not going to use Minox or finasteride for you guys who keep asking about that. All right, Shabadeep. Appreciate boss. Do you still follow a plant-based diet? What's your current diet? High carb, low fat? Thank you. Well, man, it's not 100% plant-based, but it's about 80% realistically. I'd love to do 100. I think that's probably the healthiest way you can possibly eat. But as I've pointed out in the past, I am not in this for ethical reasons. I understand the ethical implications, and if I were to argue with a full-on vegan, I would just have to nod and say, yeah, I agree. So I'm honest about that. I accept the fact that animal products probably aren't the best for you in the long term if you want to maximize your lifespan. But for me, it's about health. And if we look at the evidence, well, in general, if we look at the blue zones, they're around 80% plant-based. And that's probably good enough. Now, you can argue you can do better in the blue zones, and that's likely correct. But me being a healthy young male right now, I don't think I need to go that step in this stage of my life. Maybe when I'm a bit older, and possibly, you know, I can definitely see myself going full on. But at this current time frame, I just don't see it, bro. So I don't have biases in this respect. And you can still be healthy while including some animal products. But that doesn't mean you go the opposite extreme now, like the carnivore diet and all that. I believe that's a fraud diet, says me. And I don't care if people are so-called thriving on it. Check out the YouTube channel Plant Positive if you want some good exposing on these low carbers. Michael P. 180, 130, 225 kilos, squat, bench, dead, 19 years old, 5 months of lifting. Yo, that's what's up, man. Only 5 months and you're already at that. That's crazy, dude. Wow. You have an amazing lifting career ahead of you. Mark my freaking words. And wow. Yeah, that's just... Why are you making my audience jealous, bro? But keep it up. Gal Zussman. Thank you for the donation. You didn't ask me a question, but I appreciate you regardless, and thank you for being here. Hi, Alex. I don't know if you watch Olympic weightlifting, but have you seen British prospect Gabe Itch? His squat is insane. Yeah, I don't follow Olympic weightlifting. It's probably the least interesting sport for me in terms of what's related to lifting community. It just never appealed, and that's why I'm not going to do those exercises or program that for anybody or write a system like that. So I don't even know who Gabe Itch is. But I believe you that his squat probably is insane because Olympic weightlifters tend to have excellent mobility. They do ATG with minimal equipment. Some people even call that the real squat, but I would disagree on that point. Regardless, the form is pristine. And definitely when they move on to powerlifting, if they so choose to, you tend to see elite numbers right off the bat. So it's a respectable sport for sure. And these athletes are impressive. So nothing but respect for that. Oh, you guys are trolling me. Ha! I see. Yeah, there you go. There's your proof that I don't watch Olympic weightlifting. All right. Edward Christian got 2 herniated discs. Any suggestions to replace deadlifts and barbell back squats? Can't do them. I do split squats, lunges, hack squat, hip thrust. You're pretty much on the right track. There's a few things I would include, though, if possible. Belt squats. Even if you have a herniated disc, the belt is pulling on your sacrum, which some would argue is a form of traction. So it can correct an anterior pelvic tilt and allow you to get actual squatting volume in, one-to-one, identical movement pattern, without adding compressive forces to your spine. So if you have access to that in your gym, use the machine. And I think you'll be really happy with what belt squats have to offer you. Otherwise, you can always try doing a ghetto technique, which I did for a very long time. You set up 2 plyometric boxes, ideally around 12 to 16 inches. You stand on top with a loading pin suspended, and you go to town. And if you go anywhere in the 200s, that should be more than enough to get some decent leg hypertrophy, just to say. It gets a little bit complicated when you're past 5 or 6 plates. Because it's annoying to stand up. But in general, you should be good with the DIY version for some time. And then I would actually try to work your lower back directly through reverse hyperextensions. I know this is my standard answer for every video, but it's truth. This can help traction the spine. You're pumping fluid into the discs directly, and there are many elite level powerlifters that repaired their back with this exercise. And you can even do a brutal workout where you feel completely messed up. And by the end, if you throw in the reverse hyper, man, you feel good. So if you can do that, you won't regret it. And then another exercise you can check out is by Donnie Thompson. You basically hang yourself upside down with a band. So put a band on top of a power rack and wedge that like on your hips. It looks really weird, but you're on your traps. You're like this, right? Your legs are in the air and they're spread open. And you basically open up like that and you twist your spine in different directions. Some people would say now that's dangerous. But I know that Donnie Thompson's really big on that. And he's had his fair share of back injuries. So it might be worth trying out. And then in regards to strengthening the legs further, it's basically what you just said. It's low axial loading variations that allow you to get more out of less weight. So any, any unilateral exercise, a split squat, a Bulgarian split squat, you're going to be good with that. And then even heel elevation could be helpful because you're going to load the quads a bit more proportionally compared to the posterior chain. But yeah, those would be my general tips for building bigger legs with herniated discs. It's totally doable. C-Tang, thoughts on the fake Merc? You see NH's vids on him. I have seen those videos, and I don't really have any important thoughts to share at this current time frame regarding him. You know? Yeah, I don't have anything important to say. But thank you for the donation. Ben Fontenot, conjugate training on a cut. I'm trying to cut from 190 to 160 and was wondering what your advice would be while doing this type of training. So that's pretty much how I train year round. Doesn't matter if I'm bulking or cutting. The only thing that might be a little bit different is the exercise selection and how more frequently you'll need to deload. So with conjugate, you got the max effort method every single week, and that in itself is very stressful on your recovery. It can be taken to the extreme where you're doing it twice a week, just to say. And then you're deloading like every month or so, or month and a half. So if you're in a calorie deficit, fatigue will accumulate rapidly, especially since you're maximizing your volume and intensity throughout the yearly training cycle. So the first thing I would do is drop the volume ever so slightly. So if you're normally doing 5 sets of 10 for 2 compound movements in a session, drop it down to 3. You want to try to stimulate just enough to get a response, but not that it digs deeper into your recovery resources. That's the whole key to this. So not that you're being minimalist, but you need less volume, in my opinion. In regards to the intensity, always cap your weights at 90%. Has to be a training max. Don't go all out like you see me do in some of my clips. Like that incline bench, 3 plates, where it was literally like an RPE 11, where I'm like, you know, bro, don't do that. You're also going to increase the risk of getting injured because you're more susceptible to overuse and little strains. So don't do that. And then the overloads, you might want to tone it down with the accommodating resistance. That would really benefit you. So training more raw in a sense. And that is really about it. I'm not going to tell you to drop the accessories or anything else like that. You just got to monitor the sets, the variations, and not let fatigue get you quickly. You might even have to modify the reps in reserve a bit. So if you're normally doing 1 reps in reserve frequently, creep it up to at least 2 or 3. And you're going to feel a lot better during this cut. Mark my words. So enjoy, brother. Okay, apparently I missed a super chat. I don't see it, man. I even put it on slow mode, guys. There's like a 5-second delay between your questions, and there's so many people coming in here that sometimes I'll miss. So I apologize, but let's just keep it going. C Tang. Difference between a variation and an accessory. Well, a variation doesn't have to be an accessory. That's the difference. So if my first exercise is a Swiss bar Larsen press, which you saw me do recently, that's the primary movement for that session. But it's a variation of a Larsen press, and it's also a variation of a barbell because I'm using a specialty bar. But I wouldn't call that an accessory. The accessories would be that which comes after that point, or the order of the movements. So it can get kind of confusing, and to be honest, it's probably a waste of your time to worry about this type of stuff if it leads to mental masturbation. But if you're doing flat bar bench press and an incline double bench press, you can argue that the incline dumbbell was an accessory, right? You can say that it was because it's a second movement. But like, does it even matter, bro? Like, I don't even know where I'm going with this. I want to give you more information, but it can also be defined as the isolation work. So trying to correct your muscular weaknesses. So let's say that 80% of your training is accessories to actually hypertrophy those muscles, whereas 20% is training the competition movement itself. That's another way of looking at it. But I wouldn't stress about the name itself. So I hope that clarifies some detail. Mario Gone. Are you still doing weighted inverted rows? Would you recommend them as a main pole lift? I would, and I'm still doing them, just not super frequently. I find, well, first of all, because I run Conjugate, I have the freedom to rotate movements as much as I want. It doesn't really change much because my volume is relatively stable. So last workout, I did a seated cable row. But the workout before that, it was a belt squat row. The next session, I can do those movements again if I want and just pick off from where I left off, or I could do the weighted inverted row. It all depends what I'm feeling. But because the muscle activation is so similar, I don't care, you know? That said, I'm mostly going to do weighted inverted rows when I have calisthenics goals. Because I'm moving through space. And it has good carryover to weighted pull-ups. It's actually one of the movements that assisted my 4-plate 1-rep max. I definitely credit those to making me stronger. So it depends what you're trying to improve upon. For specificity, you want to stick to weighted calisthenics movements. But for just hypertrophy, it doesn't really make a difference. And that's why there's so much rotation with what I do. And explains that I'm not a competitive powerlifter. I want to be good at everything. Naz Fitness. Thoughts on volume versus intensity? Well, that depends what your definition of both those things are. So for intensity, you could look at it in the context of effort. So how hard you're pushing yourself, even factoring in reps in reserve. Or you can look at it in what I believe makes more sense, percentage of your 1-rep max. So you're lifting at 80% intensity or 60% intensity. These are markers to determine your rep ranges and how specific you're going to be to raising your absolute strength a little bit more. So what I think about volume versus intensity, it's not a versus thing to me. It's a combination. You got to hit an optimal amount of sets to create the stimulus to grow, hypertrophy-wise, and then your intensity needs to be in an efficient range that doesn't compromise your recovery as much while giving you the goal that's desired. So if you're a strength athlete, you might creep up the intensity to over 80%. You're going to drop the reps below 5 because you want those lower velocities. But if your only goal is hypertrophy, you might cap things at 75% of your 1-rep max. So intensity is just a tool. And what matters in this case is not necessarily the percentage, except for when you go below 5 reps, but more so proximity to failure. That's it. So the way that I like to view it is, first of all, the lowest you can usually go to for hypertrophy is going to be 35% of your 1-rep max, which is very inefficient, by the way, and I don't recommend that. So I would probably stick to somewhere between 50 and 75% of your 1-rep max if the goal is size. And then in those percentages, you want to have 1 to 3 reps in reserve per set. You don't have to go to all-out failure. However, it can be easier to do that. It's more so recommended when the percentage is really low, because many people will stop way short of failure due to other factors. The pain tolerance, burn, not actual mechanical tension. So there's practical implications, but it's not because of anything being superior, like on an actual physical level. It's just what makes the most amount of logical, practical sense, if that makes sense. And then for volume, man, like I said, the evidence suggests 10 to 20 sets a week for size. And we look at it in terms of sets now. It's not the old school formula that people used to define, because workload is not created equally. On paper, it might say, oh, you're getting 15,000 pounds of work. But what was the intensity like in that work? If you're just doing a bunch of junk volume, then it doesn't really mean much, is what I'm saying. So you need to have the right intensity with the right volume. And what's going to change the most in this case is actually the volume itself. Some people will thrive on a little bit higher amounts, others slightly lower. But it's going to be somewhere in the 10 to 20 zone, and you got to figure out what works best for you. For me, I keep it real simple, man. Vertical and horizontal push-pull with an accessory for the muscles that I'm trying to work upon. That's it. So I hope that made sense. David Makayev. Hey Alex, I made quick progress on your program to 185 bench, 135 OHP, 275 squat, 355 dead. That's amazing, man. Last 8 to 9 months, progress regressed. Lift, consistently eat well, 145.59 by the way. Advice would be appreciated. So you got to these numbers, and then over 8 to 9 months, you started to go backwards. That really you're not eating well. I don't believe that for a second. And the thing that proves it to me is you're 5'9" at 145. You're not eating enough. That's the problem. Nutrition, hands down, because you were doing really good beforehand, but then all of a sudden you hit this wall and you started going backwards. That means a few things. Fatigue accumulation was pretty much maxed out. You probably didn't deload, and then you were no longer able to get away with just eating at maintenance or trying to get leaner in that process. It's possible that your original weight was not that different, but you actually lose a bunch of fat while gaining muscle. Well, now you got to change things up. Enter a calorie surplus, and literally, man, within 3 weeks, you're going to go through that plateau. So you're not eating enough. Don't tell me that you are if you weigh 145. That would only be acceptable if you were literally like shredded to the bone and you were shorter. But you're not. And I know it. I know you're not. So it starts with diet. And then with those numbers, man, that's already intermediate status for your height and weight. So you've probably been running my novice program, which is no longer appropriate for you. You have surpassed that, my friend, and you should be very happy because you got to this level. Like, this is good pound for pound strength. So you need to change up what you're doing right away. So what I'll tell you to do, man, is deload, calorie surplus, followed by switching to an intermediate system like Conjugate or 531, or what Chad Wesley Smith recommends, or looking into Mike Shear's work with the reactive training systems, or whatever you feel like doing, man. A bodybuilding program, but no longer are you novice, and you need to stop training like one to get out of these plateaus. So I hope you do that, man, and keep making those gains. Ha! Edward Christian, Alan Roger Curry's Mode 1, did you try? Thoughts? Yeah, of course, bro. I read all the Mode 1 books, and I have a lot of experience with that method. So what I'll tell you, at least in my experience, is that you get rejected a lot doing that. Like, a lot. Because it's a little bit too direct. And I went full Alan Roger Curry mode. Like, literally some of the things that he says in his podcast, okay? I use those exact lines, and didn't turn out well in many cases. Never been slapped. Never had problems like that. But you'll turn off a lot of women doing that, okay? That said, in a relationship, I found that the Mode 1 teachings are more applicable. So that's actually where I see the benefit, to be honest with you. You just say things like they are. There's just no BS. And in the long run, you're going to be so much happier because there's no secrets, there's no beating around the... Bro, your mental sanity is in check instead of, putting on this persona. Or like trying to maintain a certain frame per se. No, you just say things how they are. Just to say, Alan Roger Curry, he got married the Mode 1 way. He just did it legit. And he wrote a book on the beta male revolution. So that should say a lot. And for me, bro, I would do it the same way, 100%. Mode 1 for proposing and long-term relationships. But for casual stuff, if you're just approaching a lot of women, bro, didn't have a lot of success with it personally. I found that when I started following other people, like alpha male strategies, man, whew, that's when shit got real. But yo, I'm not going to talk about this anymore because we're getting outside the topic of fitness. But AMS, bro, whew, you can't beat that. Out of everybody I've seen, he's number one. But remember, this was years back, so I don't know how the game is these days. All right. No more questions like that, okay? That was a bonus for you. Okay. C Tang, thank you for the super chat. Feels like there's a beautiful resurgence in natural bodybuilding spearheaded by you, natural hypertrophy, bald only man, others. Thoughts on the noble natty movement? Yo, I fuck with it. I'm really happy with the direction of the natural community. It's never been this tight before. Like, for once, I feel like I'm connecting with people on the internet. Before, it's kind of sad to say this, but I felt a little bit alone. Because, like, I always had you guys, which is great. But all my peers were steroid users, for the most part. There were a few people Omar Isaf, Scott Herman, Jeff Nippard. Vitruvian Physique, I wasn't really tight with him like that. But just to say, there was a handful of guys for the most part. So not a lot of inspiration going on. But now it's like we got so many people who are actually natural coming in, giving great information and just uplifting one another. And man, it feels nice to be part of something real. Something that you could see and the vibes are there. So when I invite these guys on my channel and we talk it out, like that's genuine. You know, I love talking with these people. I love watching their videos. I don't comment on a lot of people's stuff, but you best believe I'm tuning in. And what I see, continue to be impressed. So I would say that this is literally the golden age for natty lifting. It's never been like this in the history of YouTube fitness, where a lot of people are coming in. So we're just going to keep building it. Now's the time to, I don't want to use the word capitalize, but ride the wave. You know what I'm saying? It goes back to that ride the tiger philosophy by Julius Evola. Well, we're freaking, we made it at this stage after years of grinding it out, being in the dark. See what I'm saying? You thought Eric Bugenhagen and Nether were natural. You can be wrong again about these guys. Well, first of all, it's better if we don't go there. But I would say that Eric Bugenhagen was natural at that time. 100%. Is he natty today? I have no idea. It's possible. It might not be. I know he's in the WWE and there's, you know, certain financial incentives. And he's like 280 pounds. That's pretty insane. But you can also argue that it's the long-term training that's getting to that point. So I can't comment on that part. But with what I saw in 2015, 2016, that was a natural guy. And then for Nether, no one actually proved that he actually was enhanced. This is not me trying to defend him, but there was a comment on a Google posting on a website that happened to sell other stuff, but that was a supplement site. You know? And I believe now he's doing his own thing in a jungle. And I doubt he's using any steroids over there. But look, I don't follow the guy anymore. It's been years since that incident happened. But nothing has really been proved regarding those individuals, just to say. But you should also keep in mind that at the time I was a lot younger and my judgment wasn't the same as it is now. So a lot of people have pointed out some of my flaws from years back through response videos. But notice how those response videos are only from back then, years ago. You won't find a guy in 2022 talking shit about Alpha Destiny for the most part. My 405 bench press. Because they know that I'm legit. I know what I'm talking about. And people are actually getting results following my stuff, including them. People who used to knock me down, quote unquote, are now friends with me. We talk one-on-one. They respect me. They follow my work. They've adopted some of my training principles because I proved that I wasn't making shit up. So, can we accept the fact that, yeah, I was younger and dumber at the time, but now I'm getting wiser? I'm a bit older. Maybe my judgment has improved. My brain is fully developed. That's a fact. Just saying. Hey Alex, is it a good idea to do heavy singles for the bench and OHP concurrently, same as you can with squats and deads, or is it better to prioritize one at a time? You could, as a max effort variation. So week 1 you do a bench, let's say a bench press with chains. Then week 2, Swiss bar overhead press. Then week 3, floor press. Week 4, overhead press with mini bands. Like you can rotate it like that, and you're gonna get concurrently strong. However, the specificity is going to be generalized. So you're not going to make the fastest progress on either of those lifts. It's just going to be 50-50 for the most part. And that's where you got to decide for yourself. Is it worth alternating between horizontal and vertical? You know, it's different when we talk about squats and deads because it's pretty much the same exact muscles being used. So if I do a low bar squat as a max effort lift, like my posterior chain is going to get a lot stronger. And that should help. That should feed into the deadlifting as well. Especially if I deadlift in a similar stance. So if I'm doing wide stance low bar squats week 1, and then week 2 I do a sumo pull of some kind. Like that is very specific if you ask me. And a lot of people tend to improve their deadlift just off their squats. And that's certainly what I've been noticing as I've been training the squats directly. I basically do squats and good mornings with hypertrophy work on the side, and my deadlift just continues to climb with ease. Barely even doing, actually it's rare for me to do a heavy hip hinge off the floor. I'm just keeping it real. It's all like RDL style or good morning. Like what I'm trying to say is the overlap is better with squats and deads compared to OHP and bench. The exception would be if it's not totally vertical. So if you're alternating between flat presses and incline, now that would be a bit more workable if the goal is to raise the bench press. But if you're doing OHP then bench, you're going to get a mixed result, is what I'm saying. But the same is not true for the lower body. Good question though, man. Really good. Yo, guys, you're really on fire with this Q&A. You know, I'm actually impressed. Like, these are excellent freaking questions. All of you have asked me things that are very relevant to what everyone's going through. So now we got the homie Nito Liniro. I remember you from before. Lower back being a weak point. Reverse hyper 3 times a week. Bell squats 1 time a week with regular squats and deads twice a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. Full body. 5 months into novice gain hanger progression. Dude, that's a good program right there. I think it shows that you've been watching my videos and did your research on corrective exercise, because that is a hell of a setup. Yeah, that's good. I don't even know what to say here. So let me just relate it back to myself. I do belt squats once a week as well. The other day, bro, I'm training like you, man. Fuck. It's the same thing, except I do reverse hypers twice a week, not 3 times a week. So you're using it as an extra pre-app tool, which I guess Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah, I mean, you're good, bro. What do you want me to say? Do you have any questions about this? If you post a question about the system, I can give you more feedback, but that's what I do too. It's awesome. Thank you for the super chat. Bald sports fan. Will doing pull-ups as a fat guy help with increased muscle gain? Yeah, man. It's actually the best way to do pull-ups. And that's why I'm going to be doing more of them as my weight continues to climb. Because it's a free weighted vest. So all these guys complaining in the comment section, oh, Alex, I'm not shredded. I'm not 12% body fat. I'm not a calisthenics athlete. Do you realize how lucky you are? The fatter you are, the more effective pull-ups are for hypertrophy. And what you'll find is that when you cut down, instant PRs. That's what you saw with me. I did 6 one-arm pull-ups. Do you know how many one-arm pull-ups I did during that entire cut? Like 2 or 3. I didn't do the exercise at all. I didn't train it. But because I got stronger in this big bloated state, you get to a low enough body fat and the performance is always there. That's what you're going to experience. So if you're 250 pounds and you're doing 5 reps on your pull-ups, you're like, oh fuck, I can't do 3x10 with my body weight. Bro, you don't have to. All you did was save the time of having to put a belt on you. That's all I'm trying to say. So if you're fat, enjoy, because you're going to get buff from doing these pull-ups. And when you shred, you're going to see that. Mark my words. Alex, are you trying to prevent hair loss in any way? Nope. I refuse to use any of those drugs because my health is number 1. So with finasteride, there might be potential epigenetic changes. And I'm not fucking with that. Even if the percentage is 1% or less. which it probably is. The chances of me getting post-finasteride syndrome or actual long-term issues is extremely rare. The chances are this slim. But this chance is too much of a risk for me. And you might think I'm a nut job for that. But that's my perspective. You don't know. And just to say, this is me getting a bit personal now, but I have a little brother, okay? He's 10 years old. Do you know what the chances of him getting born were? 1%. So when people tell me, oh, it's only 1%, fuck you. I ain't taking no risk. And I know that sounds like, I'm comparing apples to oranges here, but that 1% could be you. Out of the entire world's population who experiences hair loss, that could be you who gets side effects. So I ain't doing it. And minoxidil, I seem to respond fine to that in terms of what it delivers, but it's a pain in the ass, and I'd rather not worry about it. If I'm going to treat hair loss, I'm going to either get SMP done. This way I could, just zero guard it. It's going to look good. I don't mind not having hair, but I'm going to have the hairline framing. Or if I have enough density, let's say I stop at Norwood 4 or 5, then you can get a good FUT hair transplant, get some density in there, maybe combine some SMP as well, and you're good to go. Or you just forget about it and you shave your head. Done. But I'm not going to stress about this. That I lack density over here, that I don't have a perfect... I'm past that right now. It used to bother me a lot more when I was younger, but these days I seem to care less and less. So, no, I won't be doing anything about my hair loss, at least medication-wise. All right. Man, you're my idol. I appreciate that, man. I just run the buzz cut and say, F it, lol. That's what's up. Okay, James Patel. You said you can keep building 1.5 pounds of muscle a year as an elite lifter. This goes against all science. What all science? Show me this evidence that you're talking about, because it doesn't exist and you're talking out of your ass. There is no all science that you're describing. It does not exist. So what the fuck are you talking about, bro? What the charts estimate, because that's all they've ever been, estimations, is you gain such small amounts of muscle that it's not worth calculating. That's what it says. But to me, not worth calculating is worth calculating. So if I gain 0.5 pound of muscle, or you know what? Let's say that 0.5 pound goes against all science. Let's do 0.25. Okay? So 1/2 of a 0.5 pound of muscle. Over the next 10 years. That's 2.5 pounds of muscle. So is that a natural limit or slow progress? You tell me. What if you double that? 20 years. 5 pounds of muscle. So from 20 to 40 years old. And by the way, you're not going to peak at 20. So let's get that straight. You gain 5 pounds of muscle. That's at the worst case scenario that pretty much nobody's experiencing. You're getting your 0.5 pound of muscle at least. So you're just talking out of your ass because there is no science on that. And the natural limit has never been proven either. It's a ideology propagated by steroid users to justify their behavior. They're the culprit in all this. Oh, ever seen issues with lateral shifting on a bench press? Yes, absolutely, Adam. So usually that's going to be related to your tightness of all things. And also the width of your bench. So what I've noticed is that if your bench is a little bit too narrow, there's going to be more of a chance of shifting side to side. And the best way I can prove this to you is by switching to a floor press. You'll find that everybody does it even for the most part. Because they're so wide, they got that stability in there that it's easy to lower under like perfect control without shifting as much. Whereas, yeah, that's basically it. So I would invest in a better bench if possible and just work on your technique. Another thing too is going to be correct scapula movement. So what I would recommend is retracting at the bottom of your press and then allowing the shoulders to come up. Like protract them as you get close to the lockout. And the best way to learn this is with Larsen pressing. So if you want to learn proper upper body tightness, this is what's going to do it for you. By getting that natural rhythm in there on a stable, wider base, that lateral shifting will automatically start to correct itself. It's not that you got to switch to the dumbbell bench press because you're going to do the same thing. It's not going to help you in this regard. The only thing that could fix you with unilateral work is if you literally just do each arm independently. So lying down on a flat bench or on the floor, you grab something tight and you press like this. Otherwise, try what I just said and you'll be good. Is there a chance Matthew Zlat is natural as he's made no progress in 4 years and has Superman genetics? He's made excellent progress in 4 years, I think. But he certainly does have Superman genetics. And I don't know about his natural status. He may or may not be. I don't know. But he is a genetic freak. And at 17 years old, he was already doing pull-ups with 100 kilos. So if we say that his numbers now aren't possible, well, they certainly weren't back then. So we can use that as a proxy for what's possible. You know? And like when I got 4 plates, I realized I'm capable of 200. But when I was at 3, I thought that 185 was my limit. So the stronger you get, the more you start to see your potential in a different lens. Jared G, Alex, did you get Elden Ring? Not yet, man. I'd love to play it, but I don't have enough time. Just to say, I still didn't even beat Code Vein. I have it on my computer. I got Sekiro as well. I got a bunch of games that I haven't finished yet. They're just there because I'm too busy with what I do online. But and it's like even if I do have free time, I'd rather learn, to be honest. So right now I got about 6 books that I want to read on strength training. I'm going to go through them. And that takes priority. In addition to doing my writing on the side and just being productive. Basically, you got to, as much as I want to play Elden Ring, like I really do, there's more important things that have to take priority. So I'm going to sacrifice a little bit for now. Then in the future, I can play all the games I want. Because I'll have that, time. Work hard, play later. Rogelio Avila. Do you take any stimulants to work out? If you do you deload them off or take different amounts based on what you are training? So I take caffeine. Well, I should correct that and say I have coffee before every workout, usually. Like I would say 7 out of 10 times I'll have a coffee before my workout. But the thing is, I also have 2 coffees in the morning. So I'll usually have 2 to 3 in a day. So 2 to start off. And then if it's a workout day, I'll have it like an hour before. Sometimes even 30 minutes before. And I only have black coffee. Or if I want to make it more fancy, I'll add some oat milk and monk fruit with another ingredient. But just to say, like 1 cup of coffee, you're good before the gym. That's my go-to on a workout day. Otherwise, if it's a super PR or I'm greatly under recovered or I have 0 motivation whatsoever, I just feel like absolute garbage, I'll actually take a little bit of pre-workout. So I do have one, and I think it's indicated to have like 30 scoops. First of all, I don't even use the full scoop because that's too much. I think you get a lot of caffeine from that, right? And a lot of citrulline and beta-alanine, so I don't even use the full scoop. And when I do use pre, it's rare. So I've had this one for months and months and months, and it's still barely been used. So this is going to last me probably the entire year, maybe even longer in some cases. So it's just there for those additional sessions where I got to push myself. Or it's like a PR that I got to go for it, And that's usually going to be like an overload. Say a 1 rep max high handle trap bar deadlift. But when I got my 405 bench, I didn't take pre-workout. So I think that says a lot too. You don't need it. It's just a little something on the side. All right. Whoa, we got 2 big super chats right here. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Weather. Thank you, man. What's your opinion on teens cutting who have built a strength base and want to cut a few pounds because of over bulking? So generally speaking, I'm not a fan of teens cutting. And what you're saying is cutting a few pounds because of over bulking. So what do you define as over bulking would be my first question. Is it that you're actually fat, or you've become obese on a body fat percentage level? Or is it that you have a certain degree of body dysmorphia and don't want to stay in this slightly fluffy state for longer? Because I'm going to say, if you're between 15 and 20%, then you didn't overbulk. Therefore, the need to cut is not there. But if you bulked up to 30% body fat, then you know what? Teenager or not, that is not a healthy state to be in. And I would say that you'll still be able to... Sorry, 1 second. You'll still be able to build... 1 second. All right. What I would say is, if you're 30% body fat, you'll still be able to recomp effectively. And I don't think it's going to affect your health in a negative way. Like, your body is full of fat-soluble vitamins. You've been overloaded for months. And in general, you're not malnourished. And it'll actually do you good, even on a endocrine level. So your hormonal profile will improve by losing that extra fat, because you got excessive adipose tissue. So in that case, sure, fat teenagers should probably cut, assuming they're actually fat. But if you're a little bit fluffy, I probably would not recommend it. Or if you do, it's got to be a mini cut and that's it. Now, you said cut a few pounds, so that would kind of define it as that. You know? But I wouldn't cut a few pounds if you're still a reasonable percentage, is what I'm saying. I would only cut a few pounds if you literally overbulked. So first, you got to define what that was. And you know what that is. So I'd like to give you more information if possible, but I feel like that's what I have to offer you right now, given this context. But again, Weather, thank you for this amazing super chat, and I appreciate your support. And if you have any more questions about this, like, leave some follow-up and some follow-up questions here, and I'll help you out. Oh, MJ DeMarco, did I see that right? Aha. Yeah, you read all those ones already. Man, I'll get back to that in a bit. Let me just go through this other super chat. Ronak Singh. Hey Alex, glad I finally caught you live. Just wanted to show some appreciation for everything that you do. Yo, I appreciate you too. You just showed up here to show some love. And that means a lot, man. I guess it demonstrates that my work has been helpful for you. That you're getting real results. It's showing your physique. People are letting you know, yo, Ronak, you look freaking good. What's your secret? How can I get like you? And you're like, man, it's about the knowledge. And the fact that I'm pushing myself. I have the discipline. You're a changed man. So you appreciate me, but I appreciate you. It goes hand in hand. So just thank you for stopping by. And if you have any questions, like, you're here, right? You caught me live. Let me help you out. So ask anything you want. And I'm here for you, bro. So thank you very much. Best breakfast for you. I tend not to have a lot of breakfast, to be honest. I usually skip it. I'll just have black coffee and then go about my day. But a good one is just, honestly, oatmeal with berries. And then a bit of flax thrown in there. So you boil some water, you pour the oats with some cinnamon, some monk fruit. You put, actually, I like strawberries. That's my favorite for that. You mix it all up and you're good to go. You can even add a little bit of protein powder in there as well if you so choose to. 1 scoop, just mix it in. But I would say oats is a good way to start the day for sure. Arigato. Are hip abduction movements necessary for glute development? Would that give you width, which a guy don't want? No. No. If you want bigger glutes, first of all, you're talking abduction. Oh yeah. First of all, that's a scam, okay? It's there's a word called booty something workouts. I'm not gonna use that term because it doesn't fly well with the algorithm and everything, but putting bands around your knees or emphasizing wide stance exercises like sumos and all that, what you're actually feeling is the piriformis. It's not the glutes. So what I'm saying is, it's about hip extension. And the way you're going to do that is with your hip hinges and direct work that emphasize the shortened position, like a glute bridge, for example. So a glute bridge, hip thrust, RDL, or just getting a lengthened glute by doing squats. Shoving the ass back while you squat. That's all you gotta do for your glutes, or even lunges, you know? A walking lunge is by definition glute biased. So when you're coming forward, you got that torso lean forward, that's gonna hit your glutes. Even the way you do Bulgarian split squats. So you don't have to do abduction to hit them. It actually doesn't work like that. What you think you feel is not that. See, my man Gabriel, much love to you, but you just said something. Swings burn my glutes like crazy. They burn your glutes because you're isometrically squeezing them. So you got this wide stance. Oh, but also there's a hip extension element. So that's the second component. But it's the combo, right? So you got hip extension, and then at the top, you forcefully squeeze your butt cheeks together. That's actually what's giving you the most pump in that context. And enough repetitions will get you feeling it. So I hope I'm not overcomplicating this for you guys, but just know that whenever you see something labeled as a booty workout, and it's everything wide stance, everything abducted, know that it's not correct from a biomechanics standpoint. Yeah, I'm freaking thirsty. Oh, hold on. I had a question here. Did I miss it or not? I have weather again. What's up, dude? By overbulking, I mean 20% body fat and want to trim some body fat to around 15 since I want more room to bulk. I don't plan to cut super lean. So the thing is, 20%. Why don't you, I'm just going to say bluntly, why don't you main gain at 20%? Straight up. You can do it. Main gaining is for people who are already fluffy. That's when it becomes workable. So I would just enjoy being at this weight. You bulked up here. Why are you going to cut immediately after? Why not just ride out a fluffier state for a little bit longer? Eat around maintenance or slightly above on some days. And maybe your body fat will creep up to maximum 22, 23% just by a little bit more. And by the time that happens, you would have gained so much muscle that now you could do your mini cut over the course of a month and you'll be below your 20%. So you're actually going to net more muscle if you ask me. So that's what I would personally do, just because, regardless, you're still going to cut, but you might as well rock this fluffier state for a little bit. So you don't just, you know what I'm saying, man? When I got to 185, 186, I rocked it for a bit. I think I was there for 2 months or something. I don't remember exactly, but you enjoy it, the extra recovery. And then when you get your PRs or you feel like you put on enough muscle, then you do your cut. So it's not a bad thing. Look, 15, 20%, that's still the bare mode range, and you're not getting super lean like you just said. So if you want to, in the long term, man, you're probably going to be okay. Realistically, dropping 15 is going to be fine. I'm just saying, if you don't worry about being that lean right now, you'll make better progress if you just hold off a bit. Hold the line is what I'm going to suggest. But it's not a bad thing, okay? Okay, John J. How to progress on novice program. When and how to increase weight. Should I use the same weight for all my 3 or 5 sets or increase the weight every set? Okay. So, first of all, thank you for the super chat. And I think you're a little bit confused here. So, first of all, this is not a reverse pyramid setup or even based off back off sets. It's all straight sets. So, to answer your final question, it is the same weight for every single set. So, if you're doing 100 kilos on a squat, you're going to maintain that for all 3 of those sets. And the way it might look like if you just got to that load is going to be 6-5-4. So what you do moving forward, when and how to increase your weight, is you just keep repeating that workout. Just recovering from your session and eating enough food will cause a stimulus such that you should be able to add at least a rep per session. So it's basic linear progression. So on Monday, you do 100 kilos on that squat. You get 6-5-4. Wednesday, you're going to come back in. You might get 6-6-4. Friday, you might get 6-6-5. And then the following week, you'll get 6-6-6. So what happens when you get the maximum amount of reps listed for every set? You increase the load. And that's how it works. So you can add 2.5 pound plates per side, or you can microload it even less than that, depending how far you are into the program. So what I would say is, when you max out the sets and reps that are listed, and it's going to be longer with the 5 sets, logically speaking, right? When you max that out, depending how strong you are, the weights can be jumped up that much further. Sorry, that much less. So basically, when you get close to intermediate, you won't be able to make big jumps anymore. And the progress, it won't be like, it won't go as smoothly as what I just described. You might even start off like you increase the load and you get 5-4-4. You see what I'm saying? So not every weight jump is going to cause you to immediately start with 6 reps. Worst case scenario, it starts off with 4-4-4. And now you're going to have some weeks to build up. But that's the premise. You just progress by adding a little bit of reps such that you max out the sets and reps, and then you increase load. But you would not increase load if you don't max it out. Does that make sense? And if you ever find yourself regressing, then that's where you do a deload or a weight reset, and you build your way back up. And by next time you get to that point, there should be less fatigue, and you should be able to overcome the plateau. All right. Steel Toe, thank you for the super chat. Hey Alex, I recently started a desk job with long hours and my posture is having some issues. Suddenly I no longer have the shoulder mobility to do pull-ups and I used to knock out clean reps for 20, pain-free. Any advice? Okay, that is really weird that a desk job would cause you to get such bad posture that you can't even knock out pull-ups. That said, I do have some solutions for you, my man. Some of them might be unconventional, though, so I don't know if you're going to do this. Is it possible for you to set up... I know this sounds insane, but just bear with me. Is it possible to set up a pull-up bar in your office? Like on a door? Because if so, you can stretch yourself out every few hours, doing dead hangs, opening up the shoulder and stretching the entire back region. Just off that, if you're doing greasing the groove stretching on pull-ups, you're going to be able to knock out, you're going to be able to hit those 20 reps again, no problem. It's going to build that mobility. So you don't even have to do a concentric rep. Just hold the position. That would be my preferred method. It's similar to guys who do couch stretching for their hip flexors. You can do that in an office, provided that you're not wearing super tight pants or anything, or you don't want to rip them. It's the same with the upper back. Otherwise, if you don't want to go down that path, I think you can also have a pair of bands that are maybe in a drawer, and you pull them out over your lunch break, and you can do some band dislocations. And you can anchor them to something that's stationary and elevated. So if you got like a high desk that's in front of you, you get on the floor and you allow yourself to stretch out this way. And then you can turn the body outwards, open up. Same thing on the door itself. But the thing is though, these stretches aren't going to be like as beneficial as actual like proper exercise, you know? So another thing I can recommend is to get this thing called the bow tie by Donnie Thompson. I think you can buy it on the Rogue Fitness website. Let me see if I could find it for you. RogueFitness.com. Bow tie. Yep, this is it. So I'm gonna paste this right now in the script in the chat. This is what you're gonna want to buy. All right. And this goes for any office worker who finds himself like not having the best posture. Wear this thing, okay, for as long as you can reasonably tolerate. Do the stretches I just described. And when you go to the gym, don't avoid these positions because that's an easy way of becoming detrained. So I mentioned the stretching on the pull-ups. You also want to do full range of motion. And that can be gradually introduced by slightly widening the grip over time. So you were initially able to do wide grip pull-ups. Now you're going to start off with shoulder width apart or whatever is tolerable for you. So you're going to be here. You're going to do full range of motion reps. And over time, you're going to go wider, 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 wider until you're back at that original position. And now you should be opened enough with all the factors I just described. So this is definitely workable even if you're in a job that's causing you to be in this hypertonic state. So that'll be my best advice on that. Hope it was helpful. Now, let me just get a glass of water because I'm freaking thirsty. And if I keep talking like this, it's going to be difficult. So give me like not even 30 seconds. All right, I'm back. I'm back. Okay. My man, Rehan. Don't worry. I am going to timestamp this, okay? So nobody has to do it. I'm going to take care of it. Now, the thing is, right? I got to go at 4:30. So I might not be able to timestamp it right away. But when I get back home, it's going to be really late. So know that by tomorrow, it will be timestamped, okay? So on the Saturday, I guarantee it'll be done. Tonight, I can't guarantee it, though. So just stay tuned. You're going to have everything available, okay? What kind of water is that? Tap water, bro. We got it good over here in Canada. Okay, so Ugbold, you keep asking me this question. Alex, are you an atheist? No. I would say I'm more so agnostic. The thing is, I'm formally a Christian, you can say. Like, that's been my upbringing. But as I read the Bible for myself and started looking into it a little bit further, my perspective kind of changed a little bit. And especially when I started looking at debates online between different groups. So I think the principles in Christianity are really good, but I'm not a religious person, you know. So that's just a little personal side of me. I'm not denying the existence of a God. It's entirely possible, but I'm not convinced unless I see evidence. That's all. Show me the evidence, and I'll become a believer. And so far, I haven't seen any. You know, at least what's compelling enough, you know, just keeping it real. Training neck with bands. Can you talk about that? Yes, this is what I do with the neck flex harness. So I usually have that, here, I'll show you. So I made a video getting a bigger neck with cables, okay? Then I show you to attach like the carabiners to different clips of the neck flex, right? The thing is, those movements that you saw are the same things that you would do with bands. So that's how I figured that out. It's just that one is with actual weight, the other one is band resistance. So I'm gonna refer you to that segment and look at the exercises shown there, or my neck training guide 101. That's a lot of good content there. You watch any sports? Only UFC, bro. Rick Vanden Eind. Losing hair because of creatine? No, I'm not even on creatine right now, surprisingly. I want to buy some, but I don't like the prices that I'm seeing. And it's all the trendy forms, like micronized, and what's all these new ones that they talk about? I don't even know what the hell they're called. But I just want standard creatine monohydrate, and I've been looking around. I don't seem to find that these days. So I'm probably going to have to go to a supplement store in person to do that, or I have to order off an actual supplement site. But yeah, eventually I'll get back to using creatine for sure. It's worth it. Okay, my man Javid Ben Cosme. Alpha Truther. As someone who dismissed conventional ideas, gave Westside Barbell a chance despite mob rule. Masses not agreeing with bands. You figured out truth. Is it possible we are being lied to about the shape of the earth? I'm sorry, my man. Much love to you. I really appreciate the super chat. But the earth is not flat. I'm sorry, it's not. And there's nothing that you can say to convince me that it is. So I'm a very objective person when I look at these things. I don't think that what NASA is showing us is CGI. Okay? I've seen their arguments. I'm not convinced by anything they've said. None of what they said seems logical to me. So I don't like now we're going to a different territory, my man. We're getting really outside of fitness. But the thing with the conjugate system, right? I gave Westside a chance because I experienced the opposite side, and I had all kinds of overuse injuries and slow progression at a young age. So I started off making good gains, following minimalism, and then I listened to all these people who said Westside is trash. And that's when I coincidentally had the worst results of my entire life. And then when I decided to read the book for myself, I was like, yo, this is not the same as what's being said online. And I started experimenting. And the moment I introduced those principles, all of my plateaus were gone, as well as my nagging pains. Everything was corrected, and I got really strong fast. So I was like, yo, these people are fucking liars. Because this is actually provable. This is a fact. What you're suggesting with the flat earth thing, there's no proof of what these people are saying. None of what they say is justifiable, in my opinion. But the conjugate does work for raw lifters. Matt Wenning, Burley Hawk, there's been many people that acquired elite totals. You can say they're the minority, so maybe the only argument you can make is that it's not the best system. To that, I'll concede. But you can't say it doesn't work. So that's the difference between lying. You know? You can say conjugate's not number one, but you can't say it doesn't work for raw lifters. Otherwise, you're going to see guys like me who bench 405 at 185 being a lifetime natty. Can't say the same for the earth. But thank you very much for that super chat, and I still appreciate you, man. Don't think I'm seeing you any differently for those beliefs, okay? Like, I'm sure we all have a lot of beliefs that vary from the mainstream. But the key is to not create division with that. Okay. The real stuff is in spirituality. Yeah, possibly. Like I said, the teachings are really good. So, if you read the book, The Law of Success by Napoleon Hill, there's a lot of references to the Bible, and they're all fantastic. But you don't have to be religious to follow those teachings. So the 7 deadly sins, for example, that's good stuff. But you don't need a label attached. You know what I'm saying? My man K24, you missed a bunch of super chats, bro. Well, look, I see 2 of them right here that I already addressed, and I see one more here. which I also addressed. So I don't know what super chat you're talking about, man. Oh, I see one right here. You know what it is, man? It's because by the time I'm done answering a question, it automatically goes on to the next one. So it's like I'm trying, but I find that YouTube is way too fast for this, and it's a problem. It's kind of annoying, not gonna lie. Anyway, let me answer you right here. I just saw it. Emilio XZ. What are your thoughts on strength training for power punching and boxing? I have good form in the 4 lifts, but I'm a bit scared of going heavy. I would run the conjugate system. So, this is what Bruce Lee said years ago. If 2 fighters have the same ability, the stronger one will win. And that's true. As long as you don't enter a new weight class or get so big that your explosiveness is a little bit of a problem, you're going to be fine. But the thing is, you can monitor that with explosive exercise, right? So if your vertical jump is constantly going up, for example, but your legs have grown in size from all these barbell back squats, so you went from a 315 squat to 405, then that's only going to make you a better fighter. So if you actually look at some of the UFC fighters, many of them are coached by Daru Strong. He programs Conjugate for them. And you always see it. The moment they start running those strength programs, strength and conditioning, that's what it is, right? Their fighting goes up like crazy because now they have more power into those punches. So it's one thing to have technique, but you can only dial that in for so long. At some point, you have to strengthen the muscles that are associated with that movement pattern. So your squats and deadlifts, that's going to help your punching power, man. Remember, it does come from the hips. A stronger lower body equals a stronger punch. And then your presses, there's a lot of stuff you can do like that. Like your incline pressing, using accommodating resistance. The accommodating resistance will push up the deceleration curve. So it allows you to really pop. So if you're popping by doing dynamic effort, in 3-week waves, like, that's really good. See, a lot of powerlifters on YouTube are going to talk trash about dynamic effort. They're like, powerlifting is not a speed strength or a strength speed sport. Okay, that's fine. I don't do it either. But for field athletes and fighters, that's freaking money. So that's what you got to do, man. Conjugate all day. And you're going to see how much better you become at fighting. You missed the super chat about warm-up. I don't see that super chat, man. I see one by Olivier. Is it better to do pull-ups 5-7 days a week than just twice a week to get stronger than faster? I do 4-day upper lower with all movement patterns. Okay. See, you just said you do 4-day upper lower with all movement patterns. That means you're running a maximized program that's probably close to your maximum recoverable volume. In that case, you're getting more than what you need. You don't require the 5 to 7 days. The 5 to 7 days is a compensation strategy. You won't do all the movement patterns split across 2 days. Instead, you're really refining that one movement by upping the frequency. Now, you can argue that's potentially going to lead to faster strength, but I would also argue more overuse, harder on your recovery, and for gains that probably aren't that much better. And that's the key distinction here. If you're doing pull-ups 5 days a week, it'll beat you up. Like, I'm talking heavy pull-ups here. And you might only get like 15% stronger tops. For what? When you could have done upper-lower, required less deloads, would have had less fatigue, and your program would have been more balanced. Because now you're featuring all the movement patterns, and you only got to be in the gym twice a week. So this whole obsession with frequency, in my opinion, is misguided. Like, people started to miss the boat with that one, The idea was muscle protein synthesis doesn't last that long, 48, 72 hours max. Well, they would say every 48 actually. So therefore you want to work out every other day. Or if you don't fully trash the muscle, you can train it every single day. But when you look at the actual evidence, like the moment you go past twice a week, it's a drop off. So, and even then, there's new research coming out suggesting that once a week might actually be fine. So the whole concept of a bro split might not be as bad as we once thought. As crazy as that may sound coming from me. I would say the exercise selection and the periodization that goes into it is the big issue, but not the frequency itself. So there's frequency and then there's programming, right? And you can program effectively on upper lower. And if you ask me, I would just keep doing that. That's how I got my 4-plate pull-up. And the majority of guys who really excel at weighted pull-ups, they're doing it twice a week. Maybe 3 to 4 times max. But 5 or 7, nah, you don't need to do that, man. Not at all. Yeah, the tap water is fine here, man. Helmut, Cruiser, man. How should I warm up before a lift? Mobility stretching, specific exercises, sets and reps. How should complete lower, upper, and full body workout look like? Okay, got a lot of questions here. So how do you warm up before a lift? You don't have to do any mobility work, contrary to what some people have said over the years. All you got to do, I mean, you could include some form of potentiation, but if you stretch yourself to the point where you now have a temporarily increased active range of motion, the problem is you're going to be weak in those new positions. So if you're normally squatting 100 kilos, and now you stretch your hip flexors, and you can go a few degrees lower at the bottom, you're not able to tolerate that force in that deep position. And if you keep doing that in the long term, that can actually lead to overuse injuries. So it's important to work in your current active range and let the strength training increase your mobility. That's how it naturally follows. So you're going to get better leg mobility by doing deeper and deeper squats. You don't have to do stretches before your squats. Just take more time to warm up with the barbell itself. So you can do 2 sets of 10 with the empty bar. Then you do 135, 185, 225, 275. Basically, if your mobility is not up to par, take your time. Instead of doing these drills, right? Especially the glute activation stuff. That is not necessary. Now, if you talk about potentiation, there could be some merit to that, but what I found is it's got to be through the antagonist motions. So in 2021, I was experimenting with the winning warm-ups, and that included a press, a tricep exercise, and an upper back. And I was doing that for a few months and realized, like at first I thought it wasn't affecting my one max, but then I understood that it did. Because when I took it out, I was stronger. However, I did get better tightness when I had the rows in there. So that's what I kept out of that routine. Before I bench press, I'll take some bands and I'll do a few sets of rows just to get myself, more mobile there. But I won't do presses before the main press. You see what I'm saying? Or if I'm going to do a stretch, it's going to be like something dynamic with bands, and it's like for very low volume. So I might do 1 or 2 sets of band dislocations, But it's not going to be this extensive thing that takes me like 15 to 20 minutes. It's going to be like maximum 3 minutes. And even then, it's very fast. So basically your warm-up is the ramping up process to the weights that you'll be working with. And then you ask me, what would a complete upper and full body workout look like? That's a completely different question. But going back to what I said to another guy, I like to look at movement patterns. So for upper body, that's going to be a horizontal push, a vertical push, a vertical pull, and a horizontal pull. So bench press, row, overhead press, pull up. That's what I do 9 out of 10 times. And then, whatever my weak links are, in those exercises, I'll isolate them directly. So for bench press, my triceps are the weakness. So I'll do 1 exercise for triceps. 3 sets of a tricep push down usually. What complements the pulling muscles? The biceps, right? So that's the next step. I'll do 1 curl. And that's basically about what I'll do, which you've been seeing in my upper body sessions. And then for lower body, we got our squatting motion, our hip hinges, and then our accessories to build upon that. We can even throw in a unilateral as a third movement. So a typical routine could be a squat, a good morning, a Bulgarian split squat, followed by a leg curl, and then maybe some hip flexor work, like a leg raise. That would be a complete leg workout right there. And if you want a little bit more quad after, you can do a leg extension or a sissy squat. But because you did the unilateral exercise, you're going to get the rec fem in the lengthened position. So that's how I like to look at training. It's all about the movement patterns, and you don't need excessive volume. So yeah, hope that helped you out, man. Bow tie looks sweet. Thank you for the awesome advice. No problem, Steel Toe. I'm glad it was helpful. Okay, I think we're all up to date with these questions. Brother, when you gonna rep a mustache? Maybe if I'm doing like a crazy PR, like a 200 kilo bench, just to honor the old school strongmen, or those who are representing real natural bodybuilding and strength training. So I think that's the only time I would rep a mustache, when I get a crazy PR, like a handlebar style. You know what I'm saying? We have Jean. Oh, shout out from Africa. Angola, brother. Love your content, novice lifter, 1 year training. Yo, much love, dude. It's crazy that I got subscribers from Africa. I know that my big three is United States, UK, and then Canada. Everything else is like different countries that are all over the world, but it's very mixed. So those are the main ones. So I appreciate you. Okay. Oh no, I had that question. Okay, right here. Jean, vous avez une question en français? I'm 17 years old novice, which has been training off and on. I tend to get injured a lot and can't seem to progress well in the gym. What can I do? So, you shouldn't be getting injured at 17 years old. If that's happening, your program is likely way too minimalist. And I can certainly relate on that part, because me too, I had problems back in the day. You know, all my injuries, quote unquote, was when I was a teenager. Younger and dumber. And I'm not saying that you're dumb. Not at all, my friend. But you can be more prone to ego lifting, or maybe you tend to overdo things because you think you can, right? So look, it's true that your recovery is going to be better as a teenager, and therefore you shouldn't be getting injured. So in this case, your program is probably not on point. I think you need to completely change what you're doing and possibly run my novice program. I think if you run that, the injuries are immediately going to go away. I don't know what you've been doing up until now, but it's obviously not working. And then for diet, that's going to be very important for optimizing your recovery. Are you trying to stay shredded year round? What's your body fat percentage, bro? How much do you weigh? Is it an inconsistent diet? Because someone who runs my novice program, let's say the lowest volume listed, and you're eating in a small calorie surplus with quality foods, you're getting 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Good micronutrients. You log your stuff on MyFitnessPal or Chronometer, right? The numbers are excellent. There's no 17-year-old that's going to have problems with that. So that tells me it's either those two things combined or one of them that's affecting your progress. But certainly, it's not normal to be constantly getting injured at 17 years old. Nito Linilo. Again, my man, what's up? Big ups to the guy who mentioned spirituality. I'm indigenous heritage from Mex. So psychedelics are a part of the niche culture. Respect Alpha D. Hey, I appreciate you being honest about that and just showing some love. You know, you've been really supportive throughout this Q&A, and it's cool how we all have different backgrounds, but similar beliefs in certain things, right? So it's not about, like going back to the religious question I had before, we're not about creating division. It's not about race or religion or about anything that's like that doesn't really matter in this community. We're just trying to preach self-improvement, being the best versions of ourselves, and everyone defines that a little bit differently, while embracing the natural way. And just having a strong community of like-minded individuals on the fitness aspect. But we can be vastly different in our upbringing and culture. And there's nothing wrong with that. And the same even goes for like basic diets, you know? Like everyone's going to be a little bit different. And I think we need to acknowledge those differences as being cool and unique instead of being at war with each other for that. So like, look, I would never take psychedelics, but it's a part of your culture. You think it's, you know, interesting. It's niche. Hey, no problem, man. All I know is that you're showing respect to me today, right? You asked me some good questions. I responded. I'm helping people out here. That's what matters. It's not about what you do in your personal life. So, yeah, I don't know where I'm going now with this, but big ups to you too, my man. Oh, I spilled the water on me. Can you give us a few examples of doing weighted push-ups 2 days a week as your only pressing movements? Would you go heavy one day, 3 to 5 reps, maybe do pauses or do diamond or feet elevated another day, baselines for volume? 100% I would. So with the weighted push-up, it's going to be a bit difficult to do 1 rep maxes. And even, honestly, even reps of 3 could be difficult unless you got a lot of weight. So I would probably just divide it into moderate reps on day 1 and then slightly high reps on day 2. Not because you can't do a pure volume and intensity setup, but more so due to the practical applications of the movement. So Monday, the first movement could be a weighted push-up, 3 sets of 6 to 8, right? Thursday could be a decline weighted diamond push-up for 3 sets of 12 to 15. And then what would come after, so that's how you would blend that, right? And for the secondary presses, would you again want to do push-ups or complement that? Because I can tell you to do a weighted dip right after your push-up, and that's going to work the same muscles and give you carryover. And you can literally alternate between day 1, regular weighted dips, and day 2, pause weighted dips, or maybe doing dips with accommodating resistance, or even doing ring dips. So in this way, the same musculature is being activated, but there's some movement variability, and the percentages are not going to be equal workout to workout. So I think you have the general idea here. And what you're asking me also, baselines for volume. The baseline is already established, provided that you don't go below 5 reps. And as I pointed out earlier, you're probably not going to do that on push-ups. With dips, it could be done, but not push-ups. So if you want, technically, on the Monday, you can max out on a weighted dip, so get 1 to 3 reps, and then your secondary movement can be the heavier push-up that I described. Or you just don't do the heavy stuff at all on your heavy day. But yeah, that'll be my response to that for blending everything. Rogelio Avila. Appreciate response from earlier. I got addicted to the feeling of being stimulated while working out because of wanting to overcome bad sleep. Now I'm feeling burnt out. Thanks for doing live chats. Yo, I'm happy to help you out. And I appreciate you asking me these questions. And you just said it like, trying to overcome bad sleep, feeling burnt out. Man, sometimes you gotta take a few steps back to keep moving forward. And sleep is very important. When you don't have that, it's easy to feel unmotivated and not wanting to go to the gym at all. Because how can you perform when you're sleeping 4 to 6 hours a night? It's not optimal, you know? And when you get a good night's rest, you just feel ready to kick ass. Especially when your system is intense. You're really trying to push the boundaries of what's possible. Like pretty much all your recovery resources need to be on point. So if I can help you like optimize things, like that's good. But you did point out, like, you got addicted to the feeling of being stimulated. Yeah, a lot of guys, they go beyond stimulation, you know? There's a saying in the bodybuilding community, stimulate, not annihilate. Well, a lot of people will annihilate their body. They'll do excessive volume. They'll go to failure on every single set. And they won't even sleep a lot either. Or eat enough food. So they're doing everything to burn themselves out. And then they wonder why they get injured or quit lifting. Cause and effect. And that's why, man, you got to run a program that's sustainable for you. In addition to having a body fat, that makes sense in the long run. Like, if I was going to stay shredded year round, I was going to burn out, straight up. So it's not that we can't do it. It's just like, how much can you tolerate of it before you don't feel like yourself anymore? That's the distinction, my man. Oh, man. Dude, my man Javid Ben Cosme. I appreciate your super chat, but I don't know why you keep bringing this in. I'm going to read your question out loud in case other people want to learn this. Flat Earth, but I'm not in agreement. Flat Earth cosmology is all in the Bible and ancient maps. Robert Simmons, NASA employee, admits NASA pictures are photoshopped. Auguste Piccard, friend with Einstein, physicist, first man to go up to the stratosphere, said it looked like a flat disc. Look, man, I'm not going to argue with you, and I'm not going to address anything you said. I'm not interested. I told you before in the previous question that I won't be talking about this any further. I do not want to talk about the subject. I refuse to. You're never going to see a single video on my channel discussing this, ever. It's not possible. You will not see it. I'm going to talk about fitness and some lifestyle improvement here and there. But I'm not even going to attempt to go over those claims. I'm not interested, bro. So thank you again for the super chat. But the earth is not flat, to me. And I think most people would say that as well. And it's not because they're sheep, okay? Another guy, again, dude, yo, Javid. Yo, I appreciate you, man, but stop donating me expecting a response for flat earth. I'll read your thing again. The proof of a curve is on the beach. You see ships disappearing from the bottom up the further it gets. This is debunked today by zooming into the horizon with a camera. The boat reappears. All right. Thoughts on balding? Check out Bald Cafe, bro. He has some really good content on how to overcome your insecurities with this. Alex Bangash, Live Destiny. How do you work out your hairline? By putting a straight razor to it and trying to make it look more angular, if possible. How to earn money by streaming 101. Well, I'm not really a professional streamer. I just do this from time to time. But the donations add up, you know. Like, I've been going for almost 2 hours now. And we already had a lot of people ask me some specific questions. And it's just cool to see. So when you're offering good information and people want an answer, like, they're going to put down some money, you know. Especially if there's hundreds of people constantly commenting, they might not want to wait it out or waste time in the sense that maybe their question won't be answered. So the super chat's an easy way to get a quick response. Sternum pain from trap bar shrugging. Please help Alpha Daddy. You know, I don't know if you're the same person who wrote this in my video, but I've been seeing that recently as a comment. And I don't really understand why. Mark Ripito would state because it's due to sagittal plane instability. But I don't know if that's actually the factor. I find that really weird that your sternum is hurting. Maybe it's kind of like mimicking a dip in the sense that you got those neutral grips out here. And when you're shrugging, you're flexing your pecs internally. That's the only thing that I could think of. So you're in an internally rotated position, and you're kind of doing like a chest shrug, you know? That's the only thing that comes across my mind because I don't understand. Saitama says the sternoclavicular joint may be the issue. Possibly. See, with this, I don't know how to respond. Why are you so opposed to steroid use? One cycle of 500 milligram testosterone wouldn't do you any harm, and you would be an even bigger freak. It would unlock a whole new chapter in lifting. First of all, you said one cycle of 500 milligrams testosterone wouldn't do you any harm. What if you do have pre-existing health issues, or you have a genetic condition that gets exacerbated by this, right? And also 500 is not the same as 120 or 250, right? And you said one cycle. So you mean to tell me in one cycle you're going to be a permanent freak? No. You're going to have to stay on it. So that one cycle becomes many cycles. And what usually happens is you up the dose, like all these steroid users that you see. And you're still unlocking the gate for something that's not healthy. You're just trying to minimize the risk by taking less frequently, but it's still not good for you. So why are you even on my channel would be my question to you. And why would you promote? Nah. I don't even want to go down that path, man. Luis Gallardo. How many exercises per session in a push-pull leg split? I seem to enjoy doing too much. Don't want to miss out on the gains. Novice, by the way, 5 months in. I mean, I don't really do push-pull legs. My stuff is upper lower, so I can't say at the top of my head exactly how many movements you would do. But I think that most of the ones I've seen online are pretty much exactly the same in terms of how many movements you'll be doing. Like, they're all very generic and just like imagine an upper lower, but you're splitting up the back and the presses while adding a bit more volume. That's essentially what you get. So a push workout might be bench press, overhead press, then a side lateral, a chest fly, and then a tricep movement, or maybe one extra compound movement. And then a pull day can arguably be a vertical pull, like a pull up, a barbell row, and then a pull over, followed by a barbell curl and a hammer curl. And then the leg day would be exactly the same as an upper lower day. So it's basically not that different. The only thing is you're spending less time in the gym. So on an upper workout, you're gonna have to alternate between push pull. Either first, like you do it bench, row, overhead press, pull up, push down, curl, or you do all your presses first and all your pulls later. So you end up spending like double the time to do the pulls, right? Unless you're supersetting it. Whereas the push-pull legs is the same thing. Like the volume's equated, but split up. So you might be out of the gym in like 45 minutes. But you're going to the gym 6 days a week as opposed to 4 days a week. So it's really just about enjoyment, work capacity, and time management. OTX motivation, why don't you post a ring workout? The thing is, man, I'm not really training to be a ring specialist right now. And by doing that, it would take away from my own goals. So I'm not going to just do that for the sake of views. I've done a few like that back then, but that's because I was actually working in the rings consistently. Right now, I only do a select exercises like ring pull-ups. I consistently do those. Sometimes I'll do ring flies, and then maybe a few other movements like inverted rows in the rings. But for the most part, I'm not training any skills. And if I do rings, it's just a variation to complement the bar work. So I'm not going to just stop doing my bench, OHP, and all that so I can do a weighted ring dip followed by a weighted push-up and then a ring extension. Like it's good, but that's not what I'm trying to do right now. Maybe when I'm cutting again, I'll start doing more of that stuff. Hernando Gavancho. How can I incorporate calves into NE? I've been putting it into posterior chain isolation. No, that's a mistake, my man. Also currently learning to recomp on a plant-based diet. Awesome. Thanks for all the good info. Much appreciated, man. Greetings from Peru. Yo! One of my best friends is from Peru. You guys are awesome, and the food is amazing. Ceviche, bro. So, the diet, I mean, keep doing that. But regarding the calves, posterior chain isolation refers to Nordic leg curls, reverse hyperextension. You know, it's things that complement the primary movers on a squat or a deadlift. It's not a calf raise. Like if you start doing that, your calves are going to improve, but you might get slower progress on the main movements. And that is not a good trade-off whatsoever. So what you actually have to do, my man, is run the exact same program, no difference, but now you throw in your calves to the very end. So you can actually even superset your ab work and calves. So weighted leg raises followed by calf raises. And one workout could be the standing calf raise. The other workout could be a donkey calf raise or a seated calf raise. Or if you want to go full on mode, you do 2 exercises for calves twice a week. But the template does not change, man. So much love from Canada. Luis Gallardo. What's up, dude? Thank you again. How many... No, I just answered you. I'm sorry. It's because I got to scroll up for some of these. Matt B. What's up? What's up? Hey, Alex, what would you suggest doing to still have energy after a 9-to-5 job to lift? I'm so shot after staring at a screen all day and have no energy. Yeah, man. The only thing I can relate to on this aspect was when I was in school. And I would pretty much train at nighttime. The thing is, I'm just going to keep it blunt. This is what you got to do. You get home, have supper, okay? Then make some coffee and take a nap for about 30 minutes or an hour and a half. So 30 to 90 minutes, you're going to want to do nothing, okay? The moment you wake up, have that coffee, and then start walking or driving to the gym. So by the time you start doing this, it's actually going to be a lot later. It might be around 9 p.m., 8, 9, possibly 10. Point is, you're going to have to go at nighttime. And you should have enough energy if you took that little break and you hydrated and you got some food in. And what you'll find is that the workout's going to be very hard, but it's going to be mostly mental fatigue that affects you. It's not physical. Just to say, I think it was 2 days ago, I did a barbell back squat, right? A heavy squat. I wasn't even planning on going to 420 for that day. And it was actually a training max, by the way, not 100%. But the reason is that I had no energy whatsoever. It was a long day. You know, it was super late, and I didn't feel strong. Even 185 on my back felt heavy when I was warming up. It felt horrible. But I just kept taking my time, working my way up, and next thing you know, I was over 4 plates. And I'm like, what the hell? This is freaking cool. So it's not that you're physically incapable, okay? You are. And when you're doing a 9 to 5 where, like, you're sitting down or you're just working your brain, like, you're good, man. Your body's fine. Your legs, your pressing muscles, it's really just the mental factors that you got to overcome. And just getting rid of some fatigue, being hydrated, and doing what I just suggested. So work out late at night and you're still going to make phenomenal gains. And then the thing is, the moment you get back home, you have another meal. It can even be a freaking protein shake. You shower up, you go straight to bed. And that's how you would pull it off. And I did this for years, by the way. Some of my best gains were like that. Yeah, you see, Saitama, mental fatigue feels like physical, but it's not exactly. It feels that way, but sometimes how you feel is a lie, okay? And keep in mind, you can always auto-regulate on those days where you actually feel like garbage. So that's the whole point of emerging strategies, like Mike Teixeira would state, okay? So guys, we're nearing the end of this Q&A. I have to go really, really soon, so I'm going to answer a few more questions and that's it, okay? So don't No more super chats, please, okay? Ben Kardash. How much does it take to get from a 2-plate pull-up to a 3-plate pull-up? Maybe a year. The thing is, you're still in a really good spot right now. It gets difficult when you start going beyond 3 plates. So 3 plates to 3.5, eesh. And then 3.5 to 4, that could be a 3-year journey in itself. So double the time that it took you to get from 2 to 3 plates. But in terms of 1 maxes, yeah, that's totally doable in a year if you ask me. Another one. How long does it take to go from 1-plate bench to 2-plate bench? Well, when you have a novice lifter who starts off with an empty bar bench press, so 45 pounds, nothing on each side, it'll take him about 12 to 15 months to hit 225. So if you're already at a plate, well, you only got 90 pounds left to go. So it's not a big jump if you ask me. And that's why it didn't take me that long to hit the intermediate stage, because I was basically already starting off of that. So now, instead of taking 15 months, it can actually be in the like 8 to 12 zone, more realistically. No idea how much I can plate pitch, bro. Your eyes are so cute. Well, thank you. Squat shoes, heel elevation on barbell squats or no? Or barbell hack squats. The thing is, the hack squat is already going to be biased enough because of the hip positioning and the fact that you're moving in like a pendulum type of fashion, right? So you don't actually need squat shoes for that because the biomechanics are already optimized. So, yeah, like what would make more of a difference is altering your foot positioning. So you want more knee flexion, right? You go lower on the little ramp thing. And you don't want to use an excessively wide stance either. But you don't have to like wear squat shoes and then put your feet higher up. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about heel elevation, that's going to matter more for exercises that are just generalized, right? So if I do a barbell back squat, a lot of things can happen. If you don't have the right structure, it could be all posterior chain. So that's why it would be important to elevate your heels. And for some people, they might need the maximum amount, like 20 degrees elevation. Maybe the squat shoes by themselves won't be enough. But when you do a machine that's specifically designed to hit the quads more, like you're okay without doing that. When did you start losing hair and how are you feeling about it? I started losing my hair in 2015. And I find it interesting that people are starting to comment now, but it's been a slow progression over the years. And you can quite literally see it in my workout videos and even just me talking. Like you can see the hairline has slowly shifted. It started off at like a Norwood 2 and it's just been getting worse and worse, right? So I'm like a Norwood 2.5 on my left side. The right is a 3 and I'm a diffuse thinner. But where I'm noticing the most hair loss is actually in the back right here. Here is just thinner, but I still have the hairline placement itself. So I can show you real quick what I'm working with. It's mostly the thinness. That's an issue, okay? So it's taken me some years to get to this point. That's, yeah, basically 7 years of hair loss. And I noticed it the most in 2018 when I started growing out my hair long. If you notice, within the first 3 months, I had to cut the sides down a bit, right? That's because the sides was getting longer than the top. That's when I went completely bald, right? So what you'll find in a few months, if I continue growing this out, is the top's going to look full again just because there's more hair. But on a follicle level, it remains this thin. So it's what it is. AS says, I think it's because you're vegan. I'm not a vegan, for once. Your claims are nonsense, okay? And secondly, it's DHT. If you're prone to male pattern baldness, you have the genes for it. It doesn't matter if you have the best diet in the universe. You can have freaking aliens that crafted a diet for you. It's not going to change your fate. You have to get on a medication that solves the problem, which is going to be finasteride, dutasteride, a topical application or oral. You have to take drugs to fix the problem. And the natural treatments don't work. Castor oil, onion oil, all this stuff, that's not for male pattern baldness. So if everybody in your family has a Norwood 7, I don't care if you follow, it doesn't matter what your diet is, bro. You're probably going to be like that too. And on my side, we definitely have that. And 1 out of 3 men, or I think it's 75% of men will experience hair loss by 35 years old. So that means, guys, most of you, so we've had 11,000 playbacks, okay? 11,000. Statistically now, there's going to be at least 8,000 of you that will experience some form of hair loss as you get older. So people who laugh about it, don't. Because chances are that's going to be you. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what it is. Okay, so it's actually 4:30. We got to get going. But I did have one final question by the Dr. Crow. So I'm going to answer that. Hey Alex, how would you manage a workout program for someone juggling manual labor and boxing? Wow, that is a tough question to answer, my man. So what I would say is you can probably tone down the GPP work quite a bit because the manual labor in itself is going to get you really fit. So I don't know if you do a lot of drills on the side like jump rope or additional road work per se, but you can probably cut back on that. So if you're used to doing, say, 60 to 90 minutes of low intensity cardio on a frequent basis, drop it down to like 20 or 30 minutes because you won't need a crazy amount if your workload throughout the week is already high. Plus, I'm assuming because you follow my channel, you lift weights. So you're doing everything. Fatigue is going to climb, right? And the fatigue from cardio certainly adds up. So already, let's say you're doing an upper lower. That's 4 days of lifting. Then maybe your boxing is 4 days a week also. Then plus, you got 8 hours of manual labor a day. You're really pushing the extremes of your recovery. And so I would probably cut back the low intensity, the steady state stuff just a little bit. Or you want to switch to a form that's going to be easier on your recovery. So as opposed to jogging constantly, maybe you could do brisk walking on an incline. Or you can incorporate like shorter bursts, like sled pulls and stuff like that. Farmer walks, training more like a strongman competitor in a sense. Or rebounding as opposed to jump rope, if we're talking about the joints. And then for the weight training, I know you didn't ask me about this part, but it's very important. You're definitely going to want to use like a lower RPE. So don't stick to RPE 8s or 9s constantly. Stick to around 7. And that should give you better recovery overall. So lower the percentages of your system. Refrain from going to all-out failure constantly. And just employ a common sense approach, man, because that's really what this is. I'm not a professional boxer, but just looking at what you're doing here, where everything is peaked out, it's obvious that you're not going to feel the best every single workout. And fatigue is going to be a factor that must be addressed. And that even means taking your deloads. So you might have to deload a lot more frequently, maybe every 2 months as opposed to every 3 to 4 months like a regular person who might be training in a similar way. So besides that, what else can I say? Of course, Conjugate, like I talked about before with Daru Strong. I think that's going to be an excellent way of just managing all the variables simultaneously. But you can't really do much about your job. It is what it is. So it's just the cardio for the most part. Because keep in mind, the boxing itself is already like heavy on your lungs, You do a 30-minute workout with that, where you're punching the bag, like that's going to really get you into shape. So just the fact that we already have a conditioning element built in through the manual labor and the boxing means you can drop your cardio on other stuff a bit. So I know I'm repeating myself, but I just want to, end off with that, finalize my statement. So with that said, guys, we're pretty much done for today. Simple Q&A. I'll be timestamping everything. Like I said, in the middle of this, it might be by tomorrow because I got to go. So definitely Saturday, you're going to have all the questions lined up. But for now, just enjoy the playback if you want to listen in. And I just want to thank every single one of you for joining me on this live stream. The questions were actually phenomenal. I think this is one of my favorite ones yet in terms of what you guys brought forth. So much love. I appreciate you. And I'll see you in the next one, which is probably going to be in about 2 to 4 weeks, So either the end of March or somewhere early April. Good content. Yeah, you better believe it, bro. How do we meet you? Well, when things start normalizing, then we can start planning some things, okay? But with the world as it is, it's not the time yet, okay? But eventually it would be fun to do a proper meetup, okay? So just stay tuned for everything. I've been watching since 2017. Yo, that's crazy, Olivier. See, guys like you, man, it's all about the long-term support, and it just shows that we're building something real, like I just keep saying. Thanks, Alex. Yeah. Guys, if you want to train a lot, learn to program for yourself, you better believe it. Thanks, guys. Yeah. It's not just thanks, Alex. It's thanks, guys. Because it's all of you that are responsible for this. Yeah, I'm going to timestamp this. Peace, bro. Enjoy your weekend. You too. Okay, guys. Thank you, Lewis. Y'all have an amazing weekend. If you got to work out, do what you got to do. No excuses. We stay strong. Keep your head up high. And stay tuned for the next live Q&A. So, much love, and I'll talk to you all soon. See you guys.